send it over to you for the Mariners.
Yeah, so we head down to Florida, where the Mariners headed down to Tampa Bay and then Miami to take on the Rays and the Marlins. I know. Typically, when you think about going down to Florida in general, it's typically a good time, right? Sunshine and all that. Not really the case for our Mariners here, as we look at the Rays series starting on April 26th at Tampa Bay, an 8-4 win. So a solid start to the road trip in a way, right? Player of the game, second baseman Adam Frazier going 1 for 3 with 1 run, 3 RBIs, and a walk at that leadoff spot. April 27th at the Rays, though, a 2-3 loss. Player of the game, shortstop J.P. Crawford going 1 for 4 with 1 run and an RBI. And then April 28th at the Rays, losing the series with that 1-2 loss. Player of the game, designated hitter Eugenio Suarez going 1 for 4 with an RBI. So a tough way to lose that series to the Rays. The Rays are always a team in recent years that compete and are, in the playoffs. And it's amazing because they're a playoff team, but they hardly draw in Tampa Bay. But that's because of their stadium situation, which is a whole other topic. So tough there. You got a rematch of them at home this upcoming week. But they travel down to Miami to take on the Marlins in Miami for the first time since I think it was 2018. Starting on April 29th at the Marlins, and 6-8 loss. Player of the game, right fielder Jared Kelenic going 1 for 3 with 2 runs, an RBI, and a walk. April 30th at the Marlins, a 1-3 loss. Player of the game, right fielder Dylan Moore going 1 for 1 with 1 run, an RBI, and a walk. And then May 1st at the Marlins, salvaging that series, not getting swept, avoiding that sweep with a 7-3 win. This is a Miami team that I think was on a 7-game win streak.
They were, yeah.
And I think the Mariners were going on 4 games or something. 3 games. I think the 3-game losing streak. So they were able to pull that out there. Player of the game number 1, center fielder Julio Rodriguez, going 3 for 4 with a run and 3 RBIs. Julio hitting his first major league homer with a 450-foot bomb. And then the second player of the game, starting pitcher Logan Gilbert, going 5.2 innings with 3 hits allowed, 1 run, 1 earned run, 4 walks, and 5 strikeouts. A .64 ERA by Logan is the lowest by a Mariners pitcher through his first 5 starts in franchise history. So Logan, a young starter there who just joined the team last year in the big leagues, continuing to have a great start to 2022. And it's really interesting there. I know that you highlighted a certain somebody in there for start of the week, but that's obviously for the last segment of the show.
Yes.
But you look at that May 1st game, and I want to touch on this really briefly.
Sure.
You want to look at the future of the franchise. Julio Rodriguez and Logan Gilbert, 2 guys. I mean, that's, you want to think about the future of this Mariners ball club. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about this year's team and this year's ball club, but winning, you don't win it all in 1 year and then you're done. Like,
right.
You've got there's years and years to compete, and there's years to grow, just like in life. You don't do a really good in 1 year and then you're all done with everything. You retire. No, that's not how that works. So, you obviously want to see those 2 guys, and Gilbert and Rodriguez, continue to be, almost stalwarts of the franchise. Just be guys that are really big cornerstones, for the organization. And to have a guy like Logan Gilbert who, through last season had a really good fastball, an overpowering fastball, guy that towers at like a 6'5" frame, but needed to work on his off speed, and has been able to work on his off speed stuff, has been really sort of a workhorse. I think he's gone at least 5 innings in every single start he's had this year. And to keep his ERA down and really keep his team in ball games, he's having a great start to the year. And to have him be the number 2 starter in the rotation, I think right behind Robbie Ray, says a lot to maybe where the Mariners view him. Do you have any thoughts on the past week in terms of games, or maybe Julio? Or do you want to save that part of Julio?
I'm going to save that part of Julio, but I am just very proud to see the team. These, like you said, these young guys really just coming out and performing. And I think that just like segues in perfectly to your player of the week, because if you want to continue talking about Logan here and all of his statistics, I'll let you go ahead first with the player of the week here.
Yeah, so we'll jump into Mariners players of the week here. And I'll set it up perfectly here. Talking about Logan Gilbert, a guy that, continues to light up the season. Over the past 7 days, starting in 2 games, recording 2 wins and 11.1 innings pitched. Only 5 hits allowed over 11 innings. That's pretty solid. 1 earned run on a homer. 7 walks. So that's something. I mean, if you want to nitpick and you want to be like, hey, something to work on, maybe work on the walks a little bit. But again, he's young, and I think his play has kind of overshadowed any sort of an issue with the walks there. But if there's something you want to improve, there's the walks. 12 strikeouts, a 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and a 0.79 ERA over those 2 games. So, I mean, I think that, I still have concerns about the rotation because, I mean, Marco Gonzalez, who's starting later today, actually, got a line drive to his wrist and somehow magically will be making his start today and not being able to miss any of his starts. Marco has had issues with command so far this season. Matt Brash has had some solid starts, but I think teams are starting to figure him out. And I was kind of clamoring for a 5th starter for the Mariners to bring in a guy in free agency or via trade. And they didn't do that. And I like the vote of confidence for Matt Brash. And I think that, you're able to develop him. He's going to be able to be a really successful guy, but he's also someone who has really limited time in that. I don't think he has any AAA experience. So, really kind of, if I talked to someone who said if he struggles in his next start, which I believe is coming up in the next few days, and I think he'll make it in the last game of the Houston series here. If he struggles against Houston, you probably need to send him down. And then who comes up? I don't know. Maybe Justice Sheffield takes his place. Justice got sent down today to Tacoma. We'll get to that in roster moves, but I wonder about that. And I was just really hoping that this is a 5-man rotation that we can really believe in, but also, I don't know. It's a long season. Things can change, so we'll see about that. So, looking over at JP here, I don't want to spoil things too much, but this is a guy, at least I'll say this, is, someone that was looked at to be the captain of this ball club after Kyle Seager retired, and at least on the offensive side of the ball has really been leading the way in terms of his production. So what did you see from JP that, made it say, hey, I know you've been my guy for the past few weeks, but continues to keep it up? What did you see from
consistency? I mean, this guy is just, he's doing so well. I think I read yesterday that was, he had his 10th consecutive hit or home run or something like that.
Oh, a hit streak?
Yeah, hit streak. That's what it was. A 10th consecutive hit streak. And so I think, just like I said, just being consistent is such a big thing. And he's been able to do that all season. So just the stats here for the last 7 days, he had 24 at-bats, 5 runs, 10 hits, 2 doubles. Yeah, sorry. Make note on the notes were off. I did all split instead of the last 7 days. So sorry about that. 2 home runs, 2 RBI, 10 total or 18 total bases, an average of 0.417, an OBP of 0.440, a slugging percentage of 0.750, and a 1.190 on base plus slugging. So really just, seeing that consistency, seeing him get the hit streak, just he's doing well. He's off to a good start.
Yeah, normally he's not necessarily a guy that hits for power, but I mean, you talk about the home runs in there. I mean, you can't complain when someone. Yeah. It's always interesting in baseball because I know that the prime years of a baseball player, 26, which is funny to think about, right? So, I mean, it's interesting to see how over a career a guy might change in different ways and for positive ways, So JP's been hitting the ball well all season. Has been a guy that's really been a tough out. So I can't argue with consistency, right? So looking over to injury news, which is, again, never the fun part of this. As I mentioned, though, on the 27th, starting pitcher Marco Gonzalez left to the game versus the Marlins with a left wrist contusion after taking a line drive off of the wrist. Now, I would say, we're looking at maybe this, and that in terms of missing time. He's starting today. So I don't know how that's happening.
Wow.
I think the exit velocity on that line drive was 109 miles per hour. So I don't know about you, but I think if I got hit by line drive on this thing, I would that thing would shatter. I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but I think that would hurt a lot. But he's going to make a start today. Won't miss a start. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, he could just be playing through the pain. But if he comes out today in the first game of the series against Houston and lights it up, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. So we'll keep an eye on that because it'll be really interesting to see how Marco plays through maybe some pain.
Mhm.
And then on the 29th, right shortly after coming off of the injured list, outfielder Mitch Haniger left the game versus the Marlins with a right high ankle sprain. It is deemed a grade 2 ankle sprain, which is some partial tear in the ligament. So that's not ideal for Mitch. I know he's a
No.
guy that has his. It's not like he's necessarily injury prone. It's just kind of these unlucky injuries, like a few years ago in 2019 with a ruptured testicle. I mean, how often does that sort of thing? Come on. And then with a right ankle sprain right after coming off the injury list is really unfortunate.
It really is.
And I talked about following the homestand about how all the offense that this Mariners team had created without a Mitch Haniger, mostly, right? Because I think they had him for first few games of the homestand. It's interesting when we this is something we talked about in the offseason with the outfield. You've got a log jam of outfielders because Kyle Lewis is on the 10-day IL right now, so he could be coming back soon. I love Kyle Lewis. People know that. But it creates an interesting conundrum because we get to the trade deadline, say everybody's healthy. You've got Jared Kelenic, Julio Rodriguez, Mitch Haniger, Jared Kelenic, and Jesse Winker. That's 5 outfielders. And you can probably have the 3 starters, right? And a 4th guy that rotates in as a DH and maybe, sits on the bench sometimes. What do you do with the 5th guy? It's hard to keep 5 outfielders on your ball club. And when 2 of them are younger and Rodriguez and Kelenic, and they're going to be pushing to be, really big parts of this organization going forward, someone's going to have to move. And so I wonder, I don't want to start this now, but at some point you have to think about that. Sure. You have to think about it from the business aspect of it. And I really like both guys in terms of Haniger and Kelenic. I mean, Haniger and Lewis. So it's something to think about. But I guess it's a good problem to have because I guess you'd rather have these options than to not have these options and want to bring them in. But it's something to think about. Heading over to team news, as we look at some roster moves on the 25th, the team reinstated catcher Luis Torrens from the injured list, optioning infielder Mike Ford to AAA Tacoma as a corresponding move. They did that post-game on the 24th of the month and then designated him for assignment on the 25th. On the 26th, manager Scott Service returned to the dugout, getting back to his managerial duties. Also on the 26th, infielder Kevin Padlo, who had previously been designated for assignment, was traded to the San Francisco Giants for cash considerations. On the 27th, right-handed pitcher Paul Sewald was reinstated from the injured list, while right-handed pitcher Penn Murphy returned to AAA Tacoma. On the 28th, Murphy was reselected from AAA Tacoma. Wyatt Mills, a right-handed pitcher, was recalled from Tacoma as well. Right-handed pitcher Johan Ramirez and catcher Cal Raleigh were optioned to Tacoma. And then Evan White, the infielder, former Gold Glove first baseman, was transferred to the 60-day injured list, which is not a good sign.
No.
On the 29th, as we mentioned, Mitch Haniger was activated off of the injured list. Relief pitcher Matt Koch was DFA'd, designated for assignment. On the 30th of April, Stuart Fairchild was recalled from AAA Tacoma as a corresponding move to Mitch Haniger being placed on the 10-day IL with that grade 2 right ankle sprain, as we mentioned. Also, infielder Mike Ford, who had previously been designated for assignment, was traded to the San Francisco Giants for cash consideration. So notice a trend here. 2 infielders that the Mariners DFA'd traded to the Giants for cash considerations. On the 25th, as we looked, I believe I already looked at it last week, Ty France was named the AL co-player of the week for his performance last week. On the 2nd, the team sent relief pitcher Justice Sheffield and infielder Donovan Walton down to AAA Tacoma as the rosters, I believe, shrunk from 28 to 26 in Major League Baseball. And then talk about this Logan Gilbert guy. Starting pitcher Logan Gilbert was named the AL pitcher of the month. His .4 ERA in April was the lowest single-month ERA in Mariners history since Mark Langston's 0.5 ERA back in 1988. So
good for him.
Logan making some history, would like to keep that up. And surely, I mean, he's making some great cases. I think it's too early to talk about certain awards, so we won't do that. But certainly a really good start to the beginning of the season. Chugging along here through league notes. On the 29th, the first no-hitter in Major League Baseball this season was thrown. A combined no-hitter by the New York Mets was thrown against the Philadelphia Phillies, marking the first no-no of the season. It was a combined no-hitter, so 5 Mets pitchers, including former Mariners reliever Edwin Diaz, pitched in this game. It is the second in franchise history for the Mets. There are more combined no-hitters than solo no-hitters. So that's kind of interesting. It's more of a rare feat. Also, on the 29th, Trevor Bauer was given a 2-year suspension by Major League Baseball. He had kind of been in limbo following an earlier suspension. The Dodgers pitcher had been suspended 324 games for violating Major League Baseball's domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse policy, and he will appeal the decision. On the 30th, Whitmore makes history. Kelsey Whitmore started for the Staten Island Ferry Hawks on Sunday, becoming the first woman to play in the Atlantic League. So that is historic. I know we saw it, I think, a few weeks ago with I think it was Jenny Balkovich, who was the manager for the Yankees affiliate, the Tarpons, down in Tampa Bay. So history continuing to be made. So that's really cool to see, and hoping that Kelsey continues that journey of hers in the Atlantic League with the Ferry Hawks. So looking towards this upcoming week for the Mariners, they sit at a 12-10 record, which is second in the AL West currently. They take on the Astros for a road series for 3 games, starting May 2nd at the Astros at 5:10. So that's later today. May 3rd at the Astros at 5:10. And then a May 4th start at the Astros at 11:10. And then a 4-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays back at home at T-Mobile Park. May 5th and 6th both start at 6:40. May 7th is a 6:10 start, and May 8th is a 1:10 start. I believe that's on Mother's Day.
That is Mother's Day.
As I mentioned, a rematch against the Rays there.